Strategy Simplified. It's Japheth here, really quickly popping in to let you know that prices for several of our coaching packages are going up on November 21st. So if you've been thinking about joining a management consulted coaching program, there's no better time than right now because, like I said, on November 21st, prices will go up for these 4 packages: 1-hour coaching, 4-hour coaching, 8-hour coaching, and 20-hour coaching. So whether you're recruiting right now or you are months out, now is the best time to join to lock in the best rates. Link in the show notes to learn more and join today. Strategy Simplified, we've got another live case example for you today. This one is a McKinsey profit case led by Rick Wilmot, who is a former McKinsey engagement manager and now serves as a case coach over here at Management Consultant. He's one of our most loved coaches, and he'd love to work with you. Links in the show notes to get some coaching packages and to get some time on his calendar today. The case here focuses on a cinema chain in Thailand that has experienced slowing profits. The management team has decided that ticket pricing might be a potential issue and needs a consulting team to kind of figure out the root cause and propose some solutions. So highly recommend having a pencil and paper with you to follow along in real time with the case. See if you can solve it alongside Jacob, our candidate. Like I mentioned before, Rick loves working with candidates one-on-one to prep them for case interviews. And so join a management consultant program like Black Belt. Link in the show notes to learn more to work with Rick and get amazing coaching on your case and fit interviews, networking, and much more. All right, let's get into this McKinsey profit case.
All right, so Jacob, if this was like a real one-on-one coaching call, it's the first time meeting you, I'd be running this case like in a friendly, slow-mo way where I'm calling timeouts and we're going section by section. I'm like, hey, I'd recommend you do this or that. I think you could go from good to great on A, B, or C. But for the purposes of this format, I'm just going to put my grumpy interviewer face on. We're going to run straight through it. And then when we're done, I'll smile again and we can go do a post-mortem section by section. I will be awkwardly looking up this way because my materials for the case are up here on a second screen that you can't see, so I'm not ignoring you or anything. And your interviewers will be doing that too. So it's weird. We live in Zoom world. That's how it is. All right. You ready to hop in?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that information. I'm ready to go whenever you are, Rick.
All right. Let's take us to the faraway land of Thailand, where we find our client today. So, our client is True Films. That's TRUFILMS. They're a leading cinema chain operator with more than 50 cinemas across the country of Thailand. True Films has traditionally been a high-growth and very profitable business. However, over the last couple of years, True Films has registered very lackluster profit growth, and they'd like us to help them examine that problem and figure out what to do about it. True Films' management team has spent the last few months digging into the drivers of this phenomenon and have identified movie ticket pricing as the key driver area they want to focus on. Specifically, there is a strong sense from management that their pricing is just not optimized. True Films has hired us to come to their lavish headquarters and advise their CEO on how to approach this problem.
Awesome. Well, thank you for this prompt. Sounds very interesting today. So just to recap, our client is in Thailand, True Films. They own a cinema chain of 50 or so cinemas. And recently they have been seeing profit slowing or profit losses. They think it's within movie ticket pricing, and they think their optimization is not ideal. Is that a correct understanding?
Yeah, the profit's still growing. It's just not growing like it used to.
Okay.
And like everyone, they've got investors to answer to who think they can do a little better.
Awesome. So profit is still growing, but not what it used to be. Okay. And then obviously they want to evaluate their movie ticket pricing to see what things they could optimize with that. Is there any other sources of revenue that I should consider for True Films?
They certainly will sell you popcorn. I'm sure they have ancillary offerings, businesses, premium, VIP parking. Who knows? But let's limit the scope of our conversation to ticket pricing just for today.
Sounds good. Just ticket pricing for today. Awesome. And then as far as any kind of trends that I should be aware of in the movie industry in Thailand, is there anything that's changed over the recent years or anything that's going to change in the foreseeable future?
No, great question. True Films is absolutely the market leader. They've got a 60% market share. That's held pretty steady. They've seen challengers over the years, but nobody's really been able to knock them off their throne. And no macro factors that are really driving that we're aware of right now.
Awesome. Well, 50% market share is definitely a good thing to hear.
I'm sorry. That was 60. Sorry if I misspoke.
Oh, 60% market share? Okay. That's even better. So that's a great fact to hear. So knowing that True Films is kind of a market leader and seeing some issues with movie ticket optimization, is there any new competitors I should be aware of before I build out a framework?
No, nothing major. The market's been pretty stable in terms of competitive landscape for the last few years.
Sounds good. Then my last question, any other goals besides maybe increasing those profit numbers or optimizing movie ticket prices?
No, great question. I think obviously there are other factors we could look at, but we've been hired today specifically to think about this ticket pricing and return to a accelerated rate of growth and profitability.
Awesome. All right. Well, if I can just get a minute or two to kind of build out a framework, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. Please do.
His Strategy Simplified. It's Japheth here, your producer, and I really quickly wanted to pop in to tell you about Black Belt. So if you're targeting a consulting role at a firm like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Deloitte, Oliver Wyman, Accenture, you name it, Black Belt is a structured case prep program that might be exactly what you need to push you over the hump and land that offer. So it is a structured case coaching program where you'll get one-on-one coaching from a former McKinsey, Bain, or BCG consultant. You'll also get a year of free access to our new community for exclusive employer info sessions, training, master classes, community support, and much more. Last but not least, you get unlimited digital materials to support your case prep progress. Oh, and by the way, over 80% of Black Belts who complete the program land a consulting role. That's pretty incredible. So we'd love to see you inside of Black Belt. Join at the link in the show notes. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rick, for giving me that quick second. If you're ready, I would love to walk you through my framework to approach this problem.
Yeah, love to hear your thoughts. What do you got?
Awesome. So to kind of evaluate why our profit is growing slower than we'd like for True Films and maybe optimizing our movie ticket pricing as well, I think we need to kind of evaluate three things. So the first would be kind of our overall profitability. The second would be our competitive landscape. And then the third thing would be some kind of customer preferences. So I'll start with profitability. So breaking down profitability a little bit more, I'd like to look at kind of our revenue, and out of that revenue, since we're including ticket share or ticket pricing, and then times the volume we're selling in tickets is going to be our main revenue driver. I think that'll be interesting to look at. And then moving to the other side of profitability and the costs, I'm going to bucket that down into variable and fixed. So it sounds like the management team originally thinks that it's an issue with revenue, but I'd like to kind of double check that and make sure that maybe our costs haven't been raising significantly, which could be putting pressure on our top line. So as far as fixed cost goes, I'd like to rent we're paying and other associated fixed costs. And as far as variable goes, I'd like to see what we're paying for maybe staff or what we have to pay for potentially like production or what other stuff we need there. And then my next bucket, under competition. So yeah, obviously we have that 60% market share, but it's interesting to see if there's new competition entering the market, maybe a new chain is being built or something like that. And then the second thing I would like to look at in our competition is seeing if old competition is expanding. Maybe before they were a little bit smaller and now maybe it's a less fragmented market. So we could be looking at maybe a 60-40 split of the market share. It's hard to say. And then the final thing under competition I'd like to look at is less in the in-person movie industry, but maybe on the online movies, it's seeing kind of other types of movie venues. So maybe drive-ins are becoming more popular, or people are renting or buying movies on their own computer. So that'd be another type of competition I'd like to evaluate. And then breaking it down to my final bucket would be customer preferences. So I'd like to look at if customers prefer big theaters or maybe smaller theaters. IMAX is becoming a little bit more popular. The second thing I'd like to see if they in Thailand they enjoy longer or shorter movies. I've seen over the last 10 or so years the movies are tending to be a little bit longer. So maybe that's not aligning with customer preferences, and that could be driving issues for us. And then I know big seats have become a thing over the last 5 or so years as well. So I'm wondering if...
What was it that you just said there? What has become over the last few years? Sorry, I think you might have cut out there or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, do you want me to run through the whole customer preferences bucket?
No, I'm sorry.
The
Just
long
literally
movies?
your last sentence. You said something has been over the last few years, and I just missed the middle.
No, all good. So over the last couple of years, I've noticed that seats have shifted from the smaller seats to more bigger seats. Yeah, I'm sorry. And then with the reclining and then the leg rest coming out. So just seeing if we're keeping up with the market, or maybe we need to pack more people in, and bringing in those bigger seats isn't ideal for us. And then the final thing under that customer preferences bucket would be if they prefer paying for movie tickets by movie, or maybe if a pass is the way to go. I know in the past, movie theaters have said you could pay $30 and get all you could see movies for that month, or maybe some type of yearly subscription might be able to increase our revenue. So if all that sounds good, I think we could probably start with maybe somewhere in the ticket price and see what we're charging and maybe what we need to change.
Okay, great. All good points. Taking a few notes on what you said, so just give me one moment here.
Sounds good.
All right, notes complete. Let's move along. So, we're about to have our initial meeting with the CEO, and she's mentioned to us that she's considering 3 different pricing strategies for True Films. She sent us some information prior to this meeting, and I'm going to share that by sharing my screen with you right now.
Hey, Japheth here. To get the exhibits that Rick is showing in this episode, click the link in the show notes. You'll see the pictures of the exhibits. You can follow along with the case.
All right. So CEO, she's come up through, the marketing angle. She's not a pricing person, not a financial person, but she's been coached up a little bit. And these are the 3 different pricing modes that she's been coached to consider. I'd like you to just take a minute. I'll be quiet here. Let you read this over and soak it in. I want you to read these over, and then let's talk through some pros and cons of each of these so that we're prepared for our meeting with the CEO.
Awesome. Yeah, just give me 1 second to read these. We'll be right back with you.
Here, take your time.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think the CEO has derived 3 very good strategies, and I think these would all be interesting to kind of see. And I think it would depend a little bit on our business model. If we're more of a budget player, or if we're more on the higher end, I think we could potentially drive different strategies knowing that information.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's just take them one by one. Cost plus. What do you see as pros and cons there?
Yeah, for sure. So I think some potential pros and cons for cost plus is that if we were able to sell an adequate amount of volume, it would help lead us to our targeted profit margin. So I think that would be valuable. I think the con side of that, flip over to there, would be that we might struggle a little bit selling that protected amount of volume if our pricing is too high. The second approach, the market-based, setting the prices based on what competitors are charging. As far as the pro side goes with that, we would be competitive because we'd be charging similar rates to our competition. As far as the con side goes, if we are a nicer establishment, or we are not able to sell enough volume at the market rate to kind of meet our costs, I think we could struggle there. And then the value-based method, I think as far as the pro side goes, we're giving the customer a price that they are willing to pay to go see the movie. So I think that works as a big advantage to us. And then the con side, once again, is that we might not be able to sell enough volume or sell them at the correct price to meet our target profit.
Okay. Knowing only what you know now, which one would you pick? Like, if you gun to your head, you had to say, what's your hunch? What's your developing hypothesis? Knowing only what you know now.
Knowing only what I know now, I would say that our best way to go is probably the value-based approach. I think market-based approach, since we are a market leader, probably doesn't make the most sense for us. And I think cost-plus approach could potentially price us out of what customers are looking to pay, and we could potentially lose market share. So I'm going to go with value-based would be my recommendation, knowing nothing else.
Okay, cool. Super interesting. We'll see how it goes. All right. I am going to drop my screen share here. I am going to bring up another exhibit. So just give me a moment to do that.
Awesome.
And This is real life, guys. You're going to do a lot of Zoom interviews, and people will be juggling monitors as interviewers, so there will be awkward interruptions just like this. All right, great. So we've had our initial discussion with the CEO. She likes your idea about value-based, but she's not sold. We want to look deeper into each of these pricing models to identify what can guarantee the highest profit for True Films. I've collected a little data. We, the team, in collaboration with the customer, have collected some data, and I'd like to share that with you now in the form of another exhibit. So give me one moment while I share my screen.
Awesome.
All right. So with this additional information, how might you go about calculating what sort of pricing model maximizes profit for True Films? There's a lot going on here, so again, I'm going to take a step back and let you soak this in. Before we dive into that discussion, just let me know if anything is unclear or could use any clarification here.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that second.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, this is a lot of information.
Before we dive into doing calculations, does anything stick out to you here? Is there anything, especially interesting?
Yeah, I would say there's a handful of things that stick out to me, and that's where I was going to go. Immediately, seeing that our current average ticket price is below all of our competitors, given that we are a market leader, definitely stands out. I think we could at least charge what our bottom tier does, unless we do not offer the service that competitor B would be. So I would say that sticks out immediately. Also, the spread across competitor ticket pricing is kind of surprising. I figured across the movie industry would be very consolidated, and there's definitely a lot of difference of pricing. And then across the market's customers' willingness to pay being at $10, as long as we, which it sounds like we can meet that $10, I think that kind of going back a little bit on my approach a little bit, I think that value perceived is definitely the way to go, given we could probably charge the most for that approach. I don't know, does all that sound good to you?
Yeah. Sounds like you're developing a real hypothesis here. Let's run some numbers and see if it checks out. So let me give you a minute here. And again, the specific question that I have for you is look at all of the data available on this exhibit and just calculate each pricing model and let me know which one maximizes profits.
Awesome. Yeah, before I do, I just want to clarify a couple things. So across the board on our competitor approach, the value-based approach, and then our kind of cost-plus approach, can we assume that our costs, as far as our margin goes, are all going to stay the same, and our fixed costs are going to stay the same across all three of those approaches?
Yep. Super important question. Yes. For the purposes of our discussion, we'll just assume those stay stable.
Awesome. And then just kind of thinking right off the bat here, going back to what I was originally saying, I can kind of tell that given our competitor ticket pricing, if I were to take the average of 6, 8, and 10, that's going to leave me with 8. And knowing that that is below the 10 that the customers are willing to pay, could I stay away from maybe calculating that competitor approach, knowing that it probably doesn't make the most sense for us?
I suspect you're onto something with your hunch here, but let's just do all the homework and be diligent. Because that's what the CEO expects of us.
Sounds great. And then my final question: would you like me to calculate our original revenue before our original profit before these three models to compare?
No, we can go to the finance department and get that anytime we want. So just assume that away, and let's dive in and calculate for each of the three options.
Awesome. So I'm going to work you through my framework for how I would calculate each of the three, and then I'll add numbers to it if that sounds good.
Yeah, sounds excellent.
Awesome. So we can start with my guess at what's going to be our highest profit method with the value approach. So I would start by taking the average tickets sold per month. And then should I calculate this on a yearly basis or a monthly basis?
No, I mean, we can multiply everything by 12 later. Let's just do monthly, keep it simple.
Makes sense. So I would take my average tickets sold per month, multiply that by the willingness to pay, and then I could take 50% off of that for the variable cost to give me where we are at, and then minus the 20 for the fixed costs. And that would give me the profit for the customer's willingness to pay. Does that sound correct for that?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then my model for the cost plus would be, so taking our targeted profit margin. So can I just assume that we are going to multiply our, I guess, how would you like me to calculate the cost plus? Do we have a specific target for our profit, or is it just 25% of what exactly?
We would just like to take home one out of every $4 at the end of the day. So 25%
Okay.
profit margin. However you'd like to go about arriving at that. Yeah, I'd be curious how you do so.
Awesome. So we're looking at taking home 25% of our top line revenue then?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think our best approach for calculating our cost plus would be to kind of work from the bottom up to know what we would have in expenses for a month, and then we could determine that our volume is going to stay the same, so then we could figure out what we could charge for ticket price. So,
Yep. Stable cost,
kind of-
stable volume.
okay, sounds good. And then, so my way of calculating that would be knowing that our fixed costs are going to be 20 million. We would be able to determine that our variable costs would stay at 50%, and to receive 25% of that, 25% of that top line, we know that we are going to have to do double what our fixed costs are then. So that's going to put me at 40 and multiply that by 0.25, and then I'd be able to divide that to get the average ticket price. Does that sound like the correct approach, or am I looking at this a little bit wrong?
There's a lot going on there, but I didn't hear anything unreasonable.
Okay. All right, that'll be my approach for that. And then my final approach for the competitor one would be to take the average across the board for our competitors, which would be $8, and then multiply that by our 10 million for the average ticket price sold. And then we would be able to multiply that by 50% to get our margin, then minus the 20 million to get our profit. Does that sound like the correct approach for the competition?
Yeah. Again, I don't have it written down in front of me, but that all sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. Then I will work my way back through. So I will start with the value. So starting with our value-based approach to get our top line, we can take the 10 million and multiply it by the customer's willingness to pay price, which will put us at 100 million. Then we can take that 100 million and multiply that by 50% to give us 50 million. Then we can subtract our 20 million in fixed costs to give us 30 million for profit for the value. Does that sound correct?
I'm sorry, can you walk me through that one more time?
Yeah. So my approach for getting that was multiplying the customer's willingness to pay, so the $10, times the 10 million tickets sold to give me a total of 100 million, and then multiplying that by 50%, given our variable costs, to give me 50 million, and then subtracting the fixed cost of 20 million to give me a profit of 30 million.
Okay, yeah, checks out.
Okay, sweet. And then moving it into our cost plus approach. So knowing that our projected, or our goal for our target profit margin is 25%, and we know that 50% is going to be how much we take home from our revenue, and we have 20 million in fixed expenses, we can sort of work a little bit backwards. So I think we can multiply the 50 by the 25 to give me, or sorry, that's not the approach I would like to take. I think my best approach here would be to determine what ticket price would give me $80 million, or I'm sorry, would give me $100 million in revenue, and then that would allow me to take off 50% for 40 million, and then take off 20 million to give me 20. I guess that'd be 20%. So we would need 110 million because that would allow me to multiply in half, which would give me or I guess I'm still thinking about this wrong. On this kind of approach, should I start kind of top down, or should I work bottom up to determine the cost plus?
What do you think would be the right approach?
Yeah, I think that determining what I would need to sell and total revenue would kind of start me in the right spot, and then I could work my way down. Does that sound like the way I should kind of go about this?
Yeah, it sounds reasonable to me.
Awesome. Can I just get 1 minute to kind of think about this for a second?
Yeah, take a breath.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome. So kind of bringing this back into scope, I'm thinking that we are going to need to sell tickets at roughly $9.50 for this approach to give me 95 million in top line. Then taking roughly 50% of that will put me at 47.5 million. And then taking our fixed expenses off of that will put me at 27.5 million, which would be roughly 25% of our top line. Does that sound like a fair way to go about this?
Let's move on to the last bucket.
Awesome. And then kind of working through the last bucket, knowing that we were selling tickets at $8, that is going to give us a top line of 80 million. Knowing we take 50% off of that, that will put us at 40 million. And then taking another 20 off, that is going to put us at 20 million. So working some thoughts back into all these numbers, I'm thinking that our best approach is to go with the value-based, because that would generate the most profit out of these three strategies. How does that analysis sound?
Sounds well reasoned to me. All right, so let's fast forward. Consider we're wrapping up week 2 of a 6-week study here. We've got a big check-in meeting with the CEO and her close lieutenants, so to speak. I'd like you to just take all we've talked about, all the thinking you've done on this, wrap it up, and just synthesize it for me. Let me know what you would want to communicate during this meeting, both in terms of what we're thinking now, our developing hypothesis, and how we plan to spend our time in the coming weeks.
Awesome. So kind of make a recommendation based off what we've found so far, and then maybe some potential next steps.
Midstream check-in, developing hypothesis. What have we learned? What do we think? And then what are we going to do with the rest of our time to keep sharpening the pencil and drill down to an even better, more confident answer?
Awesome. So if I had to kind of give my pitch to the CEO, I'd say so far, based off our research, the value-based approach makes the most sense for us because it will generate the most amount of profit at 30 million. I think going forward, some potential next steps for us to spend our time would be to evaluate the market to make sure that we are able to double check and make sure we're able to get what we think we're going to get for the willingness to pay from customers. And then I think the other thing that we need to evaluate moving forward is seeing what potential risks we have to this. So saying that maybe we're in the wrong market, and maybe over the next 5 years, there's going to be a 25 to 50% deterioration in the market. And I think that could lead us to some problems. And then kind of going forward off of that, I think we could also struggle to keep up with some of the companies that like Netflix or other streaming services that you're able to rent or buy movies off of.
Okay. All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend in Bangkok, and we'll see you Monday for week 3 of the study.
Awesome.
All right. That is a wrap. How'd you feel?
I felt like everything, hold on 1 second, I'm over on the wrong screen. I felt like everything was good except for that cost plus. I don't know why that cost plus analysis kind of threw me off. I think that was my biggest struggle. I understood the math of the value, and I understood the math.
Yeah, we're going to get into that.
calculate the
You
competition.
actually started to get it wrong. Then you got it right. The number was 20, and you said 20. Oh, hold on. I'm going to back up. I was like, no, you had it. It was right there. You literally started to say the word 20, and then you second-guessed yourself. So the good news is I would pass you on this for a McKinsey BA round 1. Even though there was some stumbliness with the math there. What would happen would be I would go back to the decision room. I would meet with my co-interviewer. You get two interviews in round 1. We would have all the same candidates for the day, 4 for a half day, 8 for a full day. And I'd say, he structured this math really well. Like, I can tell he's like comfortable with numbers, numerically literate, all the good things, right? But he just like had some confidence issues in the middle and slipped up and he almost had the right answer. He drew back. Did you see that? And she'd be like, no, he smoked it. And I'd be like, okay, if he just had a bad moment there, the rest of your case was so strong, no problem passed for me. Let's go back through step by step. And just as I'm give my feedback to you, all my coaching candidates know, I kind of split my feedback up into two areas, conduct and content. So conduct is just best practices for doing a case. Like, you're never going to go wrong by just following the etiquette rules of good casing, right? And then content is like your analysis, your ability to see through the facts and figures and actually come up with the so whats. So let's dive in. I'm going to bring some materials up on my monitor here, my notes and the case. So that's why I will be awkwardly looking up here on occasion. All right, so I gave you the business, right? Thailand, CEO, cinemas, whatever. You played back to me the important details, got clarification. You should always do that. So if you were my client, we were working together, I'd skip that. But for the benefit of everybody here, I want to highlight the things that you did really well and the things that I would recommend they do as well. So your playback is great. You started asking me about competition, blah, blah, blah. That's a little off track. That's coming later in your framework. I just recommend 2 quick, clean questions after you've clarified the facts, the figures, what we're here to do. Number 1, which you did. Are there any specific goals that we need to keep in mind as we work forward through this problem? So if their target is in fact 12.95% profit growth you need to know that. I, as the interviewer, I have a little box on my sheet that says information available to candidate upon request. Okay? In this case, there is not a specific target, but if there was, you sure need to know it, and you can solve that problem with 1 quick question. So now you've probed the upside. What does the vision of greatness look like, right? Probe the downside, which you didn't do. Are there any special restrictions or constraints on the thinking that could be involved here? Are movie tickets a regulated industry in Thailand? I don't know. So in this case, no. But what if there was? You need to know that. So 2 quick, clean questions. Is there a specific vision of what great looks like? Are there any constraints or restrictions on the thinking that I need to keep in mind? No, done. Now we're in framework. So you started with have competitors enter, all good questions, but let's put that in the structured thinking part of the event, right? The framework, which your framework was great. I'm going to share my screen real quickly here. So as an interviewer, I'm going to look at something like this. This is a case from the Management Consulted Library. It's called True Films. Anyone watching, have free access to it. If you are a black belt client, you have access to all the things, et cetera, et cetera. So this is an example of what a great framework looks like. Yours looked a little different, but I don't care. Like, this is one vision of what a good framework should look like. So if you're peer casing with your fellow students and they're like, no, your framework looked different than what I'm seeing, I'm like, who cares? Was it good? You did what you were supposed to do. You gave me the internal and external perspectives. You gave me the top line first, pyramid principle communication, executive level, important thing at 1, important thing 2, important thing 3, 1 sub A, 1 sub B, 1 sub C. Nailed it. And in my mind, you hit the right things, right? Like, who are our customers? What do they want? You sound like you've been to a movie before. I know films are getting a little longer. I know there's like plush luxury seating. I'm actually not a moviegoer. Super interesting. Bring in your real life experiences. Like, humanize this case. That was great. But if they happen to hit a sweet spot for you and you know a little something about the industry, the country, the whatever, bring it in. It shows that you're like wide ranging, deep thinking, interesting guy, right? Okay, so your framework looks a little different than this, pretty similar, a little different, and that's okay. You don't need to like do a framework, read the case, and be like, oh, I screwed it up. Like, if it's good, it's good. Like, it's okay. As an interviewer, I'm gonna probably have given this case 20 times, and like I'll have heard many things that are not on the paper. I just want to hear if you are identifying the key issues and have something interesting to say about the sub-issues and what you'd want to be curious to know more about. You're never going wrong when you're saying, this could be super interesting. I'd be curious to know X, Y, Z, because if so, that could become the whole thing, the driver of the case, right? Like, I, as the interviewer, am going to go broad, narrow, broad, right? Up front, I want you to place as many doors in front of me that I might want to walk through in terms of a broad framework. Then I have to jam you into a narrow box and make you do math. 1 to 3 times, depending on the firm, depending on the case. So then I'm going to go broad and ask for a recommendation. That's when you pull your wonderful framework back from the dump. You emphasize in your recommendation whatever road I forced you down made you do math, but you give it some side dishes by saying, and you did this, it was good. You kept like, let's not take our eye off the ball on cost. That's important, right? I shoved you in the revenue direction, but let's not take our eye off that ball. Like, I hear that from you. I get it. I get that you get it, right? So that was really strong. Sorry, let me pull my notes back up. All right, so after you ask your 2 clarifying questions, let me have a moment to collect my thoughts. That is good case etiquette. It's a yes every time from an experience interview. You took a very appropriate amount of time, 2 minutes. You came up, ready to talk. Awesome. Let's see, looking at my notes. And I love the way that you ended this, and I would recommend your framework. I would recommend that everyone do this. In the absence of any other information, I think the most interesting thing would be this, and I think we could start there, right? I'm going to then rudely jerk you somewhere completely else because that's where I have to send you to do the math. But you showing that initiative, that inquisitiveness, like, that's really great to see. So even if you pick the wrong door, but it's well-reasoned, and you're showing that initiative to lead the case if I want to let you, awesome. All right, so we do our framework. You talk me through the pros and cons of the pricing models. It's good. You had something to say about all of them. Similar rates competition. I even see this a lot, especially with undergrads. Like, I love that you're like developing a hypothesis real quickly, letting me know about it. Yo, can I just skip this step because I think it's not going to be, you said like, well, I just intuitively I can tell you that's not going to be the answer. I need to make you do the math as the interviewer, and it probably felt like I'm like tut-tutting you, like, no, you cannot skip that step. Might have felt like a negative. It's a real positive. The fact that you're just seeing through this problem, your intuition is popping like that. That's just shall not be the answer for obviously intuitive reasons to me. Maybe your strongest part of the case, and it might have felt to you like a negative when I'm like, nope, do the math. But showing your interviewer like, wow, he doesn't even need to do the math. Like, you were right off the bat. It is value-based pricing. So, and you had a hypothesis, you're developing it, you're building on it, you're testing against it. I'm forcing you to do some unnatural things, you're rolling with it. It's good. So, like, showing that initiative, hey, I'm keeping my eye on the prize here. What's that answer? Here's my developing intuition. That's really good. Usually it takes some coaching. Maybe you've had a bunch of coaching. I don't know. But either you come up with that or whoever taught you that, on the right track. Okay, so your math, I know it didn't feel good. I could see it didn't feel good for you. You nailed the first number. You got the second number right, then wrong, or wrong, then right, then wrong again. And cost plus is fine. But what you did that's really important. So I started McKinsey interviewing when I was across the desk from someone. I watched them draw their frameworks. I watched them set their math up. If they misplace a decimal point or something, I could just be like, don't you mean 10 million, not 1 million? Like, I could do that. And now I can't because everything's on Zoom. So it's extra important that you do what you did. Tell me what you're going to do before you do it. I think you'll go back and watch this. It could have been a slightly crisper, I don't know. But I had a clear picture, right? Like, I'm going to have this on my end. As you're talking, I, as the interviewer, am trying to like mentally map what you're saying, the structure that's in your head on your paper, coming out of your mouth, into my head, into this, right? And again, this is the true film case in the Management Consulted Library. Jacob, you, anyone watching, can go take advantage of it. Rerun these numbers to death, whatever you want to do. So you need to be communicating to me, because if you have your setup wrong, if you're about to do the wrong math and I don't know it, that can really send the interview off the rails. You could just go down some super dark road, and it could be because I mispronounced a number or something, right? Nobody's perfect, right? So just being really clean there. Okay, I want to run these calculations to arrive at these results for these reasons. Let me run by you what I'm about to do to make sure we're lined up. Just good hygiene. You did it. And I just want to highlight how you did it for everybody watching, because it's really, really important. It just can have a cascading disaster effect on the case if you're doing the wrong math with the wrong numbers and we're just, going down some unfortunate road, right? Your wrap is really strong. I noticed you did not say, let me take a minute to collect my thoughts. You can usually do that. Some interviewers are like, nah, what are you thinking? I would have been fine either way. But if anyone watching is a person who does need that breath to just go head down for that extra 30, 60 seconds, collect your thoughts, take a look at your framework, that's usually fine, good etiquette. Certainly at McKinsey, it's kind of expected, no problem. Also cool that you didn't need to do that. Your wrap was good. You had the facts of the case, you developed a hypothesis front of mind, you were able to just roll stream of consciousness. Awesome. So your wrap is really good. Again, you're my interview 2 out of 8 for the day. I'm coming back. I'm comparing notes with my compatriot for the day. And I'm like, strong this, strong this, strong this. Really good, intuitive, saw through the case. Really strong stuff. He did have I saw his structuring of the math was great. Like exactly but his execution on it was great, then a little wonky, and then good again. So like, how do you do on math with you? And if she said like, he really screwed my math up, but he was also really strong in these other areas, then we would actually go to a decision room, run our facts and figures by other consultants, have a discussion about it. And round 1, the stakes are lower for your interviewers, because if you really just can't do math, we'll figure it out in round 2. And, it's been 3 hours of unproductive time for all involved, and that's sad, but that's life. Again, this would be a pass. I trust that my other interviewer would have great things to say, and that we'd be happy to welcome you to round 2. And McKinsey Greens in particular provides pretty decent coaching in between, good transparency and guidance.
And that wraps up another case interview example. Hope you found this helpful. If you're loving the show, please let us know. Shoot us a text. We love hearing your notes, your feedback, your content requests. So let us know what you'd love to see more of. Just link in the show notes to see a link to text us your question or your comment or your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. In addition, another way you can kind of get back to the podcast is by leaving a rating and review. It takes 20 seconds, and you can just pause the episode right now, and wherever you're listening from, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., leave us a rating and review. Thank you in advance, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Strategy Simplified shortly.